14, Dana Keene said through the conference room speaker. We have 14 open defects in production. Across the table, Evan Rusk stopped twisting the cap on his marker. 4 days earlier, during Monday's release meeting, he had called every QA safeguard I built overkill, cut the checks before the client launch, and told the room my caution was slowing everyone down. I had warned him, in those exact words, that 14 defects were still open. Now Halcyon Linen Services had found every one of them. The red plastic hold tag Evan had peeled from my laptop on Monday sat beside his hand. I watched him turn it face down before he answered Dana. "Let's be careful about terminology," he said. Then he looked at me with an expression I knew from holidays, birthdays, and one terrible Thanksgiving, the look my brother-in-law used when he expected family to help him lie. 4 days earlier, the same tag had swung from the corner of my laptop while the release countdown glowed on the wall. Monday, 11:42 a.m. launch, 6 hours, 18 minutes. Someone had brought cinnamon bagels, which was how I knew Evan expected a fight. He only bought breakfast when he planned to ask people for something they would resent. "Okay," he said, standing at the head of the conference table. "Let's separate launch blockers from Lena blockers." A few people smiled automatically. Priya Shah did not. She sat beside me with her pen suspended over a legal pad, her dark hair still frizzy from the rain. Marcus Bell, our senior integration developer, stared into his coffee as if he might find another job in it. I clicked to the next slide. 14 open defects, I said. 4 rated high, 6 medium, 4 low. I'm asking for 48 hours to complete the dirty to clean reconciliation suite, the offline handheld cycle, and invoice validation against Halcyon's contract tables. Evan leaned toward the screen. "You're asking to move a launch because an invoice can be off by 3 cents. That's defect 14. Defect 14 is low. So we agree. We agree that one of the 14 is low." The corner of Priya's mouth moved. She turned it into a cough. Rivet Line Systems occupied the second floor of a converted furniture warehouse outside Milwaukee. The building looked charming in recruitment photos. In February, wind came through the old brick hard enough to stir the blinds, and the conference room radiator clanked every 9 minutes like somebody trapped inside it with a wrench. On the screen behind me was a photograph from Halcyon's Oak Creek plant. Gray laundry carts lined up beneath an RFID tunnel, each cart holding hundreds of pounds of sheets, towels, uniforms, and surgical drapes, sealed in bright fabric bags. Our software tracked those loads from pickup to washing, sorting, delivery, and billing. It had to understand that a cart could pass a reader twice, a handheld could lose Wi-Fi near a steam press, and a route leaving at 11:58 p.m. belonged to the next service day if the contract said it did. Most software liked clean sequences. Laundry plants ran on damp gloves, shouted abbreviations, steel carts with bad wheels, and people improvising around machinery louder than conversation. That was why I loved testing them. Evan clicked his marker twice. "Show me the 4 highs." I put them up. RL-4821. Offline scans may duplicate after reconnection. RL-486. Oh, RFID tunnel reread can post an incorrect cart status. RL-4903. Manual weight correction may update inventory but not billing. RL-4917. Holiday route rollover uses calendar date instead of service date. Marcus rubbed one eyebrow. He had written the sync service involved in the first defect. "We put a dedupe patch into release candidate 3. "You put a dedupe patch around the scanner event," I said. "The retry queue can still send the parent transaction twice, only if the handheld loses connection between the event acknowledgement and the queue confirmation. Yes. The timing window is about 2 seconds. At Oak Creek, the dead zone beside press 4 lasts between 1 and 6 seconds. Evan spread his hands. Then don't scan beside press 4. Priya's pen hit the table. He looked at her. "What?" "That would be great guidance if press 4 weren't where they scan finished carts. We can give them a temporary workflow. We already gave them 3 temporary workflows. she said. Their supervisors have color-coded cards for our workarounds. Then this one will fit the theme. Evan could be funny. That was part of the problem. He relieved pressure so deftly that people sometimes thanked him while giving him what he wanted. I reached for my coffee and found it cold. The launch gate requires a full offline cycle at each plant, I said. We've only completed Oak Creek. Racine failed Saturday and Kenosha hasn't run. Kenosha uses the same handheld image. It has a different network layout, same devices, more dead zones. Based on what? The site survey you approved. A tiny silence opened. Evan glanced at the people from sales and finance sitting along the wall. He hated being corrected in front of departments he considered an audience. He walked to the whiteboard where my launch safeguards were written in blue. Offline cycle. 3 plants RFID double pass weight / billing reconciliation holiday route simulation contract rate. Audit rollback rehearsal. For 2 weeks, that list had governed our mornings. Developers fixed. I retested. Priya coordinated plant access. Marcus complained about my sample data and then improved it when he thought I wasn't looking. Evan drew a black line through offline cycle. 3 plants. We tested the core behavior, he said. He crossed out RFID double pass. We know the workaround. He crossed out holiday route simulation. The next holiday is Memorial Day. It's President's Day, I said, which isn't in Halcyon's service calendar. It is for 2 municipal accounts. He crossed it out anyway. Each stroke squeaked against the board. Evan, I said, those aren't optional test ideas. They're the safeguards we agreed to after the pilot. Agreed to when we had time. We have time. 48 hours. The convention starts Thursday. Halcyon doesn't care about the convention. Our company does. He turned and tapped the marker against his palm. His shirt sleeves were folded with equal, precise cuffs. Even after an all-weekend release push, Evan looked like he had arrived from a catalog titled Approachable Leadership. Lena, this is what I mean by overkill. You build a fence, then another fence to test the first fence, then a gate to document who touched the latch. That latch posts invoices. The system is functioning, with 14 defects still open. His smile appeared slowly. You've said that. I'm going to keep saying it while it's true. The room changed. It was slight, just the scrape of someone moving a shoe, but everyone felt it. Evan and I disagreed often. We had an established rhythm. He pushed, I documented, he bargained, I identified the smallest safe concession. It worked because he wanted speed and I wanted proof, and somewhere between us the product usually became usable. This was different. He had made me the obstacle in front of the whole release team. Evan capped the marker. Your caution is slowing everyone down, he said. Marcus had this build ready Friday. Priya has spent the weekend rescheduling trainers. Sales has 3 prospects expecting a live deployment at the convention. We cannot keep treating every edge case like an extinction event. Dirty sheets are more likely than extinction. Marcus made a choking sound into his cup. Evan looked at him, then back at me. We're launching at 6. I rotated my laptop so he could see the approval screen. The QA field was blank. I won't sign release readiness. Then I'll assume the risk. You can't sign the QA field. I can sign executive acceptance. That records that you launched against QA recommendation. Yes, Lena, I understand how words work. His voice stayed pleasant, which made the insult land harder. I closed the laptop halfway. The red hold tag slid down its cord and tapped the table. It was the size of a luggage tag scarred along one edge, with hold stamped through the plastic in block letters. A Halcyon floor supervisor named Walt had handed it to me during the pilot after I stopped a test cart with mismatched weights. You're the first software person who's ever happy when something fails, he had said. I'm happy when it fails before billing. He had laughed and clipped the tag to my visitor badge. I kept it afterward. At Rivet Line, people had started recognizing it. If the red tag hung from my laptop, the build stayed where it was. Evan reached over and unhooked it. Then let's remove the theater, he said. He set the tag beside my coffee. Heat climbed my neck. For one irrational second, the old plastic mattered more than the release record, the 14 defects, or the launch itself. He'd taken an ordinary ritual my team understood and turned it into a prop from a comedy about me. Priya put down her pen. "Put it back," she said. Evan blinked. "Excuse me?" "That's hers. It's a piece of plant scrap. Then you shouldn't need it." I touched Priya's wrist. Her pulse jumped beneath my fingers. "It's fine," I said. It wasn't, and she knew it. She sat back anyway. Evan slid the tag across the table to me. It stopped just short of my hand. "We need solution-minded people today," he said. "Lena, I want you running stabilization from launch through Friday. All incoming issues, triage, ownership, status. You're the best person we have for it." The compliment was beautifully placed. He had humiliated me, overruled me, and then assigned me responsibility for whatever followed. Refusing would sound wounded. Accepting would put my name above the wreckage. "Who owns the release decision?" I asked. "I do." "Say it for the notes." His jaw shifted. Priya's pen was already moving. "I own the decision to launch," Evan said. "And the acceptance of the 14 known defects? I accept the current release risk. All 14? Put it in your minutes however you need to. I need an answer." He held my gaze. For a moment, I saw how tired he was. Fine red threads webbed the whites of his eyes. He had spent 11 months building the Halcyon account from a disastrous sales demo into our largest implementation. He knew plant managers by name. He could explain soil weight billing better than half our consultants. He had personally rebuilt trust after an early data migration scrambled 2 years of root history. That competence made what he was doing worse. "All 14, he said. I opened my laptop and typed it into the release record. After the meeting, Marcus caught me at the coffee station. The machine wheezed brown water into his mug. He watched it with suspicion. "For what it's worth," he said, "I think the offline duplicate is fixed. For what it's worth, I hope you're right." You enjoy saying that in a way that makes me feel doomed. It's one of my softer skills. He gave me a tired smile, then lowered his voice. "Evan's under pressure. So is every boiler in Oak Creek. They still have gauges. He thinks if we miss the convention window, Caraway will walk. Caraway Hospitality was the largest of the 3 prospects. Winning it could lift Rivet Line out of the cycle of landing one mid-size client and then panicking over the next. I know what he thinks. He's not reckless. I didn't call him reckless. You put a red tag on his release. I put it on our release." Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. "I'll watch the queue tonight. Add correlation IDs to any duplicate reports." I said, "I think it's fixed." And I said, "I hope you're right." He carried his weak coffee away. My phone buzzed with a message from Marisol. "Dinner Wednesday? Mom's condo numbers are finally ready. Evan says launch day is going great." I stared at the last sentence until the screen dimmed. Marisol was Rivet Line's controller. She kept an office downstairs, away from product, and treated company gossip like gum on a shoe. At work, she called Evan, Evan, and me, Elena. At family dinners, he became Ev, and I became Lenny, 2 names that could smooth over almost anything. I typed, "Wednesday works," then deleted the rest of what I wanted to say. At 5:38, Priya and I joined the launch bridge from our desks. Halcyon's plant leads appeared in small rectangles across my monitor, all fluorescent lights and high-visibility vests. Dana Keene joined from a glass office overlooking the Oak Creek sorting floor. Evan took the call from the big conference room. "Tonight," he said, 3 plants become one connected operation." It was a good line, even I felt its lift. At 6, Marcus deployed the release. The first cart passed through the Oak Creek RFID tunnel at 6:14. Its status changed from wash complete to sorting. The second cart followed, then the third. At Racine, a route supervisor synced a handheld successfully. At Kenosha, the contract dashboard populated with the correct service rates. Messages bloomed in the launch chat. Oak Creek is live, Racine live, Kenosha live. Evan posted a photograph of the conference room screen with 3 green circles. Someone from sales added champagne bottle emojis. At 7:03, Dana said, "Congratulations, everybody. Clean start." Evan looked into his camera. That's what preparation gets you. Priya muted herself so Dana wouldn't hear the sound she made. I kept the defect dashboard open on my second monitor. 14 rows, unchanged. Green launch circles did not close them. At 7:19, a handheld beside press 4 lost its connection. The retry queue held the scan for 3 seconds, reconnected, and cleared. I refreshed the event table. 1 transaction appeared. Then a second line flickered beneath it and vanished. I leaned closer. "Marcus," I said into our private channel, "pull the raw sync log for Oak Creek handheld 17. 3 dots appeared as he typed. Why? The event count just corrected itself. Isn't that good?" "Pull it," I whispered. Across the office, Marcus turned toward me. Whatever he saw in my face erased his smile. On my desk, the red hold tag lay where I had set it after the meeting. The radiator clanked. Somewhere down the hall, Evan laughed as sales opened the champagne. Then Marcus sent me the log. The same cart had been accepted twice. The duplicate had different transaction IDs in the same cart: weight, scanner, operator, and timestamp. Marcus joined my screen share without speaking. I heard keys clicking through his headset. "There," I said. "Parent event ends in 7712. Retry ends in 7713. I see it." The visible count corrected because the tunnel reread, reconciled the cart. "I see that too." What did billing receive? More keys. In the launch chat, congratulations continued stacking up. Priya posted a green checkmark that looked like it had been entered at gunpoint. Marcus exhaled. 2 wait events. "Thank you." "Don't thank me like that." "Like what?" "Like I just identified the body. I copied the correlation IDs into RL-4821 and changed the reproduction status from intermittent to confirmed in production." Marcus said, "Hold on. It's confirmed." The dedupe service caught the inventory count. After both events reached billing. "We haven't generated an invoice. That's why we test the full cycle." He leaned away from his camera. "I can patch the billing consumer." "When?" "Couple hours." "And test it where?" Lena. "Racine Sandbox is still available until midnight. We can replay the event there. You're asking to change production on launch night." "I'm asking you to fix the defect that was accepted for launch because you said it was fixed." He went quiet. Marcus had a way of taking criticism physically, as if each sentence added weight to his shoulders. He was a strong developer and a terrible defendant. If you pressed him too hard, he started arguing with the worst version of what you might mean. "I said I thought it was fixed. And now we know." His eyes moved toward another monitor. "Evan's calling me." "Send him the log." "I will." "Include the billing events." "I said I will." He dropped from the call. 2 minutes later, Evan appeared beside my desk carrying 2 plastic cups of champagne. He put one near my keyboard, dangerously close to the red tag. "You found a duplicate," he said. "Marcus found it in the raw log after I saw the count correct itself." "Does Halcyon's inventory show the wrong number?" "The visible inventory is correct." "Did an invoice go out?" "No." "Did the system recover?" The dashboard recovered. The billing table has 2 events. So we caught a pre-invoice discrepancy during stabilization. He said it with the calm satisfaction of a man describing a successful fire drill. "We caught defect 4821 doing what I said it could do, which is why you're here watching it. I was supposed to test it before launch, and I made the decision to launch. We don't need to restage the meeting every time a log looks ugly." "It's not ugly, it's wrong." He glanced around. Half the desks were empty now. Sales had moved into the kitchen with the champagne. Priya was still on the client bridge, helping a Racine supervisor locate a route that had been filed under the next service day. Evan lowered his voice. Give Marcus space to fix it. Don't put production failure into JIRA while the client can still see the ticket. I put confirmed in production. Change it to stabilization monitoring. That isn't a defect status. It is tonight. No. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Do you want this launch to fail? The question was so cheap that it took me a second to answer. I want the software to tell the truth. The software is a set of tools. It doesn't have a moral life. The invoice will. He stared at me, then picked up the champagne he had brought for himself. Marcus will deploy a correction to the billing consumer. Keep it internal until he does. I'm not changing the record. Fine, I'll adjust client visibility. He walked away with both cups. At 8:06, my access to modify the client-facing defect view disappeared. The internal ticket remained intact. Its client visibility field changed from shared to restricted, and the audit trail listed Evan as the person who changed it. I took a screenshot and attached it to the release archive. At 9:17, Marcus deployed the billing patch after running 6 replays through the Racine sandbox. All 6 produced a single billable event. I added the results to 4821, left the defect open pending a longer cycle, and finally ate half a cinnamon bagel. It had hardened into something useful for minor construction. Priya rolled her chair over. Carbs? She asked. Technically. She broke off a piece, tried it, and dropped it into my trash. I photographed the whiteboard. I looked at her. After the meeting, she said, before he wiped it. Time and date are in the image. Why? Because I've worked here 6 years. She said it lightly, but she kept her voice low. Send it to the release archive, I said. Already did. On Tuesday morning, Evan renamed the incident channel Halcyon Stabilization Lena. He put my name in capital letters, as if I were either leading a parade or approaching the coast. By 9, 32 people had been added. Support routed every Halcyon question into it. Forgotten passwords, printer margins, a supervisor who could not find the filter icon, one scanner with a cracked screen, and a report that opened slowly because someone had requested 19 months of plant data. Buried among them was a message from Racine, Route 44 showing Tuesday service date. This is Monday night route. I checked the account. Route 44 served 2 municipal facilities whose holiday calendars observed President's Day. The truck had left at 11:56 Monday night. Our rollover service assigned the calendar date after midnight instead of the contracted service day. RL-4917. I linked the support message to the existing defect and tagged Priya. 30 seconds later, Evan replied in the channel. Expected calendar behavior. Implementation to confirm client preference. Priya spun around from her desk. Preference? I typed carefully. Contract configuration specifies service day rollover at 2 a.m. Existing defect RL-4917. Evan called me before I could hit enter. Bring it to my office. His office had a glass wall and an old brass laundry token framed beside his desk. He used the token in sales meetings to talk about how the industry had modernized. I'd once heard him tell 3 different origin stories for where he got it. He closed the door behind me. You're flooding the channel with defect language. A known defect appeared in production. A route displayed Tuesday instead of Monday for 23 minutes. It will also group under Tuesday's route totals and apply the wrong holiday schedule. Priya can correct it. That's the workaround listed in the ticket. Great, working as designed. A workaround and a design are different things. He sat down and folded his hands. Stabilization requires triage. If you label every issue a confirmed defect in front of 30 people, they stop hearing severity. I included the severity. You included an existing ticket number, which invites people to open it and read 6 weeks of commentary. Useful commentary. Commentary that says launch blocker in bold. That was its classification yesterday morning. He looked toward the glass wall. Marcus walked past carrying a laptop and kept his eyes forward. Evan said, I'm moving the known issues into a remediation epic. They're already in the release project. The release is complete. No, deployment is complete. Release acceptance is still conditional. According to you. According to the workflow. He smiled without warmth. This is why people find QA exhausting. There it was again, smaller and quieter than the conference room version. He was adapting. Public mockery had failed to make me sign, so now he made accuracy sound like a personality defect. What do you want me to do? I asked. Lead stabilization, solve problems, use judgment. Stop prosecuting the launch. And if a known defect reproduces, route it to the remediation epic, with the original history attached. If it's relevant, it's all relevant. Evan pushed his chair back. Your annual calibration is this week. My review was completed last month. Calibration isn't. He let that sit between us beside the framed laundry token. My work record is part of the same documentation you dislike, I said. This isn't a threat, Lena. It would be embarrassing if it were. Marisol hates sloppy accounting. His face changed at her name. Do not drag your sister into a product disagreement. She's the controller. Bonuses are accounting. He opened the door. Go stabilize the client. By lunch, the 14 defects had been moved into a new epic called post-launch enhancements. Their histories were still present, but the executive dashboard showed 0 launch blockers and 14 planned improvements. I exported the matrix as a PDF and spreadsheet, then added both to the release archive with the audit log. Marcus came by holding 2 bowls of soup from the cafe downstairs. Peace offering, he said. Which one has no mushrooms? Neither. It's not that peaceful. He set one down anyway and leaned against my desk. The billing patch held overnight. 43 reconnect events, no duplicates. That's good. You can sound happier. I am happy. You look like you're preparing to identify which mushrooms killed you. I moved the red tag away from the soup. Did you see what happened to the defects? Enhancements? Apparently. He asked me whether the RFID double pass was a data quality improvement instead of a defect. What did you say? That if the card is in 2 places at once, we should charge admission. I laughed before I could stop myself. Marcus smiled, pleased, then his expression settled. He's trying to keep the convention demo clean. Caraway asked for a list of open criticals, so he changed the label. He believes they're manageable. Do you? He studied the lid of his soup. I believe I can fix my too. That wasn't the question. It's the answer I have. Wednesday brought defect 4903. An Oak Creek floor lead corrected a cart weight from 418 pounds to 481 after noticing 2 digits had been reversed. Inventory updated. The preliminary invoice still calculated from 418. The difference was 63 pounds of processed linen at a contract rate that varied by category. Small on 1 cart. Expensive across thousands. Priya reproduced it in 11 minutes. I wrote the result into the original ticket. Evan changed the support response to user correction received after billing cutoff. It was before cutoff, Priya said. We were in a tiny focus room with our laptops balanced on a round table meant for 1. I know. He knows too. I gave him the timestamp. I know. She pulled off her glasses and wiped them with the hem of her sweater. Dana asked whether we had seen it before. What did you tell her? That engineering was reviewing. Good. That felt disgusting. It bought us time to answer accurately. Is that what we're doing? I looked through the narrow window in the door. Evan stood outside the main conference room talking with 2 sales directors. He was animated, charming, entirely at ease. Behind him, the whiteboard had been cleaned. A faint blue shadow remained where my safeguards had been. I am, I said. At 6, I met Marisol at our mother's condo. The rooms had the stale, suspended feeling of a place between owners. Most of the furniture was gone. Painter's tape marked the walls where framed photographs had hung. Marisol sat at the kitchen counter with her laptop, 3 folders, and 2 takeout containers from the Thai place she loved and always claimed was too expensive. You look awful, she said. Great to see you, too. You want noodles or curry? Noodles. I got tofu because you've been eating vending machine food. That sounds like something Mom would say. She told me to. Marisol slid a folder toward me. The condo sale would cover the assisted living deposit and most of the first year. The remaining repairs and fees were divided between us, with our expected rivet line bonuses filling the gap. I read the numbers twice. Evan says Halcyon launched successfully, she said. Deployment happened. He said you'd say something like that. I closed the folder. Did he also tell you he launched with 14 open defects? He said they were minor. 4 were high severity. He said your team downgraded 2, after he moved them into an enhancement project. Marisol pushed noodles around her container. She was 3 years older than me and better at appearing calm, though the tendon in her neck always gave her away. He feels like you embarrassed him in front of his staff. He took a hold tag off my computer and called my work overkill in front of 3 departments. He shouldn't have done that. The quickness of it surprised me. Then she said, "But you know what this convention means." There it was, the apology followed by an invoice. What does it mean, Mari? Potentially a stable year. Bonuses that arrive on time. Mom's place handled. Maybe Evan gets the position he's been doing without the title. He accepted 14 defects to improve his chance at a promotion. He made a business decision, and now he's changing the records around it. Her fork stopped. Be very precise. So I told her about the client visibility, the renamed Epic, and the executive dashboard. I did not tell her how Evan had mentioned calibration. That part still felt too much like asking my sister to choose a side. Marisol closed her container. I'll look at the revenue treatment, she said. I didn't ask you to. No, you came to dinner and described a financial reporting issue to the controller. I came to talk about the condo. You're terrible at compartmentalizing. You married a man who frames laundry tokens. She almost smiled. My phone vibrated against the counter. Priya had sent a screenshot from Halcyon's support queue. 3 plant supervisors had reported cart totals correcting themselves after refresh. Beneath it was a message from Dana. Can you and Lena join me first thing tomorrow? I want the original readiness list. I called Priya before answering. She picked up on the first ring. I was about to call you. Did Dana ask Evan for the same thing? She asked the launch group. He replied privately and moved tomorrow's check-in to his conference link. Did he remove us? He removed you. I'm still listed as optional. I walked into the empty living room where the marks from our mother's furniture made pale rectangles on the carpet. What did you send Dana? Nothing yet. Good. Lena, she asked for the original list. I know. And she's the client. I know that too. Marisol appeared in the kitchen doorway holding both takeout containers. She watched my face. I said, the readiness sheet is part of the release archive. We follow the communication chain until Evan gives us a written reason not to. You think he'll put that in writing? He put my name on the stabilization channel. That was more of a hostage label. Keep your copy of the training binder. Priya was quiet for half a second. Why? Because the readiness appendix was finalized before Evan changed the dashboard. I know. I printed 42 of them. Marisol raised one eyebrow. Don't distribute anything new tonight, I said. Just don't lose what already exists. After we hung up, Marisol put the containers in the refrigerator. What are you doing? She asked. My job. You sound like Mom right before she called the insurance company 6 times. She got the roof paid for. She also made that adjuster afraid of Tuesdays. We carried the folders to the kitchen counter. Marisol closed her laptop but kept one hand on it. Evan told me your rating came up in calibration. I looked at her. He shouldn't discuss employee ratings with me as his wife, she said. He can discuss bonus accruals with me as controller. And? He asked finance to hold yours pending stabilization performance. The numbers in the condo folder seemed to sharpen on the page. Did he say why? He said you were resisting direction and escalating manageable problems. Did you approve it? It isn't my approval. That wasn't my question. Her hand came off the laptop. I told payroll not to change anything without HR documentation. Thank you. Don't thank me, I'm following policy. We had both learned that sentence at home. It meant I love you, but I am too angry to make it easy. At 7 the next morning, Evan sent me a message. Dana wants implementation workflow, not QA history. I'll handle the call. Please focus on internal triage. I replied she requested the original readiness list. He answered, I have provided the relevant materials. I saved the exchange to the release archive. At 7:32, Priya joined Dana's call from a huddle room. At 7:36, she sent me a single line. He gave her the clean executive summary. I watched the stabilization channel populate while they spoke. Racine reported 2 missing weight adjustments. Kenosha reported a route manifest with duplicate cart EDs. Oak Creek asked why yesterday's soil totals had changed overnight without an edit recorded in the visible history. I linked each report internally. Evan changed my channel permissions from moderator to contributor. At 8:11, Priya came out of the huddle room with her laptop pressed against her ribs. What happened? She asked him 3 times for the original list. What did he say? That the launch list was superseded by ongoing optimization. Did you say anything? I said the training binders contained the approved readiness appendix. A small, fierce satisfaction moved through me. Good. He muted me. Less good. She had someone pull a binder while we were still on the call. Did they find it? Priya nodded. Appendix C. Our original matrix had been simplified for plant supervisors, but the 14 defect numbers were there, grouped under workflows that required observation during stabilization. What did Dana say? She read the first page for about a minute. Then she asked Evan why 4 launch risks were labeled high. And he said the ratings were pre-mitigation. Were they? No. Did you tell her? He ended the call. The invitation from HR arrived at 8:14. The meeting included Evan, a human resources manager named Colleen, and a document titled Performance Calibration Addendum. My rating had been changed from exceeds expectations to meets expectations. The explanation praised my technical accuracy, then described my communication as rigid, adversarial, and insufficiently aligned with business priorities. Colleen spoke gently, which was her way of showing she expected furniture to remain upright. This is not disciplinary, she said. Calibration is intended to ensure consistency across leaders. My manager completed my review 5 weeks ago. Evan sat beside her rather than across from me. And recent behavior provided additional context. 4 days of context, high-impact days. I read the addendum again. It says I failed to support the Halcyon launch. It says your approach complicated cross-functional alignment. I worked until 9:17 Monday night and returned before 7 Tuesday. This isn't about hours. I identified 2 known high-severity defects in production. This is exactly the tone we're discussing. What tone? The need to litigate every phrase. Colleen slid a pen toward me. Your signature acknowledges receipt, not agreement. Is my bonus being held? She glanced at Evan. He answered, Variable compensation for release leadership will be assessed after stabilization. Whose variable compensation? This meeting is about your review. Is yours being held? His mouth tightened. Compensation decisions are confidential. So is my review, but you discussed its financial impact with the controller before HR discussed it with me. Colleen turned to him. Did finance receive a hold request? A preliminary accrual question. Was the employee notified? We're notifying her now. Colleen pulled the pen back toward herself. I took out my phone, opened the message Marisol had sent me after I left the condo, and wrote the time of the meeting beneath it. Then I signed the receipt and added, Rating disputed. Bonus hold disclosed after request to suppress documented release defects, supporting records retained in release archive. Evan read it upside down. You can't turn a performance form into a manifesto. It's 2 sentences. Colleen made a copy before he could say more. At my desk, the red tag rested above my keyboard. I looped its cord around the base of my monitor so it would stop sliding under papers. Marcus approached with his laptop already open. "I need to show you something privately." We went into the focus room. He closed the door and set his screen between us. A table of RFID events filled it. Several rows were highlighted yellow. "The double pass issue?" I asked. "It's worse than the test case." He zoomed in on a set of records from Oak Creek. When a cart passed through the tunnel, reversed because a sorter redirected it, and then moved forward again, the reader posted a second location event. Our reconciliation job eventually selected the latest physical status, which made the dashboard look right after refresh. The raw event stream preserved both. "How many?" I asked. 312 duplicate events since launch." I sat back. "Before you say it, that doesn't mean 312 duplicate invoices," Marcus said. "Some are internal movement events. Some got caught by the patch. I'm still tracing the consumers." "But the event history changed under the floor supervisors?" "Yes, and at least some billing and route processes received both." "Yes. This is 4860 interacting with 4821, and possibly 4903 when a manual weight correction is attached to the wrong event. 2 defects paying into a third." That was the part people missed when they called individual failures manageable. Software defects socialized. They introduced each other to their friends. "Put correlation IDs on every support ticket that matches," I said. I already started. "Add this analysis to 4860. Marcus looked toward the door. "Evan asked me to summarize it as telemetry noise." "What did you say?" I said telemetry doesn't bill by the pound. I smiled despite myself. "You stole that from me." "I improved it." "Are you attaching the analysis?" He looked sick. "Yes." "Then why are you asking?" "Because once I do, he can't say he didn't know." I waited. Marcus stared at the highlighted rows. "I backed the launch. I told him the sync issue was fixed." "You told him you thought it was fixed." "I also told you to stop treating edge cases like disasters." "Evan said that." "I said it in engineering chat Friday." I had not seen that message. He watched me absorb it. "Okay," I said. "Okay." "You were wrong." "That's very healing." "What do you want, Marcus?" "I don't know. Maybe for you to enjoy this less." The words hit hard enough that I checked his face for a joke. "You think I enjoy this?" "I think part of you likes being the one who was right." "My bonus is frozen. My sister thinks I'm sabotaging her husband. The client is counting laundry carts by hand." "I didn't say all of you." He closed his laptop. The worst part was that he had found a live nerve. Each reproduced defect brought dread, but beneath it was a thin current of vindication. I had been mocked in a room full of people, and the system kept returning with evidence that I deserved to be taken seriously. That did not make me cruel. It did make me less pure than I preferred. "You're right," I said. Marcus blinked. A part of me is glad the warnings are visible now. I wish they had become visible in testing, which was the entire point. He reopened the laptop. "I'll attach the analysis." "Thank you." "Still don't do the voice." By noon, Evan had removed me from all external Halcyon meetings. The message came through Colleen. To reduce client confusion and support clear ownership, all client communications would route through Evan, with Priya covering implementation and me managing internal technical triage. I forwarded the instruction to my personal employment file, then obeyed it. That was important. Evan expected me to break the boundary out of anger. If I contacted Dana directly, he could turn the argument from what he had hidden to what I had violated. Instead, I answered internal tickets, preserved original identifiers, and asked Marcus for correlation, IDs, Priya, updated plant training notes without changing the approved appendix. Every time an issue matched one of the 14, the record grew. Evan worked just as hard. He pulled engineers into rapid fix sessions, negotiated manual reconciliation windows with plant supervisors, and persuaded sales to replace the live convention demonstration with a recorded workflow. He solved real problems. He also kept describing each solution as evidence that the launch had been sound. By Thursday evening, 8 of the 14 defects had reproduced in some form. 3 had temporary patches, 2 were awaiting clean environment verification. 1 had been closed and reopened when Racine's handhelds behaved differently from Oak Creek's. Halcyon's plant teams were losing trust in the numbers. Priya stood beside my desk, coat on, phone in hand. Dana canceled tomorrow's training. Which one? All of it. Oak Creek, Racine, Kenosha. Did she say why? She wants her operations team reconciling the system. My monitor chimed with another access change. Evan had removed the client link from the original defect matrix entirely. Priya saw it happen. How long can he keep doing this? As long as each person only sees one change. So what do? We keep the order. She frowned. Original defect, I said. Accepted risk, production symptom, support ticket, fix, retest, every item stays in order. That sounds very QA. It's one of my softer skills. She left laughing, but it faded before she reached the elevator. Friday morning, Colleen reserved the large conference room for an urgent Halcyon call. Evan arrived first. The red hold tag was already on the table beside his legal pad. He must have taken it from my monitor. I sat across from him. Priya took the chair beside me. Marcus stood near the wall with his laptop open. Marisol entered last and chose a seat by the window, carrying a finance folder instead of her usual notebook. At 8:03, the speaker connected. Dana did not exchange greetings. 14, she said. We have 14 open defects in production. Evan stopped twisting the cap on his marker. I watched him turn my red tag face down. Let's be careful about terminology, he said. We have been careful, Dana replied. My plant leads spent most of the night matching your support responses against Appendix C. Every workflow on that readiness list has failed, and every one maps to an existing rivet line defect ID. Several of those items are improvements already scheduled for remediation. They were labeled defects when your team trained us. Pre-launch classifications often change after mitigation. Then send me the approvals that change them. Evan looked at me. It was the family look, polished for business. Help me make this survivable, and later we'll call that loyalty. I folded my hands under the table. Dana continued. I also want the original release record, including the person who accepted these risks and the person who warned against launch. For the first time that week, Evan had no new name for what had happened. Colleen reached for the conference room keyboard. I can retrieve the release record, she said. Evan put down his marker. Before we start circulating internal approvals, we need to establish what Halcyon is claiming. Dana, are you saying all 14 items produced material business impact? I'm saying all 14 conditions your team identified before launch have occurred in production. Conditions and defects aren't interchangeable. Neither are mitigation and renaming. Priya looked down quickly. Marcus studied a spot above the speaker. Dana said, we have incorrect service dates, duplicate card events, weight changes that didn't reach billing, rate exceptions, and plant totals that revise themselves after supervisors sign off. My people can work around some of that. They cannot make decisions from numbers they don't trust. Evan leaned closer to the speaker. His voice softened. You're right about trust. Give us until end of day to reconcile the event stream and... No. Kenosha goes back to controlled volume. Oak Creek and Racine stay live only for workflows my operations leads approve. Phase 2 routes are paused. That creates its own data risks. I'm aware. I've spent 27 years moving linen through plants. I'm comfortable choosing which risk belongs to me. Marisol opened the finance folder. The milestone invoice depends on full operational acceptance, she said. Evan's head turned. This isn't a finance call. It became one when Halcyon paused scope. We achieved production deployment. The contract says operational acceptance. 3 plants processed live transactions. and the client has withheld acceptance. He looked at her the way he had looked at me Monday, waiting for the private relationship to correct the professional answer. Marisol held his gaze. Colleen found the record and projected it on the wall. The release workflow appeared behind Evan's shoulder. The QA approval box was blank. Beneath it, under Executive Risk Acceptance, was his name, timestamp, and typed statement. Proceed with launch. 14 known defects accepted. Stabilization team to monitor. Business value of committed date outweighs manageable operational risk. Dana let the silence hold. Who left the QA box blank? She asked. I did, I said. Why? Required test cycles were incomplete, and 4 high-severity defects remained open. Were you asked to approve it? Yes. Did you recommend launch? No. Evan interrupted. Lena's role is to identify technical risk. Mine is to weigh it against broader business needs. Then why did your executive summary say there were 0 launch blockers? Because I accepted the risks. Dana's answer came flat and immediate. Acceptance doesn't close a defect. Marcus shifted his laptop onto the table. There's more, he said. Evan looked at him. Marcus. The RFID reread defect generated 312 duplicate events before reconciliation corrected the visible totals, not 312 duplicate invoices, Marcus added quickly, speaking toward the phone. We're tracing downstream impact. Some events were caught, some reached billing and root processes. I added correlation IDs to the matching support reports. Why wasn't that in last night's executive update? Dana asked. I sent the analysis to Evan yesterday morning. Evan's expression barely moved. Engineering was still validating scope. I validated the count, Marcus said. Scope is what we're tracing. Priya opened the release archive and put her photograph of Monday's whiteboard on the screen. My 6 safeguards appeared in blue, crossed out in black. The image showed the date, time, and one corner of the launch countdown. These were the approved gates when we entered the meeting, she said. The checks in Appendix C came from this list. Evan's chair creaked as he sat back. For days, he had survived by keeping each fact in a different room. My warning belonged to QA. The accepted risk belonged to the release record. The renamed defects belonged to JIRA. The workarounds belonged to implementation. The duplicate events belonged to engineering. The withheld milestone belonged to finance. Now they were sharing a screen. Dana asked for a recovery proposal by 3 that afternoon. It had to restore the original release gates, include a client-visible defect matrix, and assign approval to someone independent of product delivery. I want Lena leading it, she said. Evan picked up the red tag, then seemed to realize what he was holding. He set it down. We'll determine internal staffing, he said. You will. Halcyon will determine whether the plan is credible. The line disconnected. For a few seconds, the radiator did all the talking. Evan stood and looked at Priya. You gave the client internal QA material. She had the training binder we approved. You directed her to Appendix C. She asked for the readiness list. You knew the classification had changed. After training. Without a revised binder. He turned to Marcus. And you presented unverified data as impact. I told her exactly what was verified. This was an escalation call, not a confession booth. Colleen closed her laptop. Stop. Evan stared at her. We're preserving the records as they exist now, she said. No status, access, or performance changes until executive review. His eyes moved to me. You engineered this. My hands were cold beneath the table, but my voice came out steady. I asked for 48 hours. That's your answer? It's the beginning of it. He laughed once without humor. You sat there all week building a case while the rest of us tried to save the account. I worked every defect you assigned me. I followed your client contact restriction. I preserved the history you kept changing. You wanted this moment. Marcus's accusation came back to me. Part of me liked being right. I wanted you to put the tag back, I said. Evan glanced at the red plastic between us. On Monday, I continued, before the launch, before my bonus became leverage, before you told 30 people I was the stabilization problem, you could have put it back and given us 2 days. His anger loosened for just a second. Underneath it was exhaustion and something closer to fear. The convention window was our chance, he said. Caraway's team was already flying in. If Halcyon slipped, sales would have shown another polished demo with no live client. We've done that for 3 years. I was trying to get us out of the cycle. I know. You think caution keeps everyone clean. Sometimes waiting costs people too. I know that too. Then why are you acting like I did this for a title? Marisol answered from the window. Because you put the title in the revenue forecast. She removed a page from her folder and placed it on the table. Evan had tied Halcyon's completion milestone, projected convention conversions, and the proposed chief operating officer compensation package into the same second quarter model. The model was not improper by itself. It showed exactly how much his personal goal depended on calling Monday a success. I asked you to hold her bonus, Marisol said, and you told me it was about accountability. Yours was accrued in full. That was a draft. So was the hold request. You still used it. He looked at his wife, and the room suddenly felt too close to something private. Colleen gathered the documents. I'm contacting Diane, she said. Diane Calder, Rivetline's president, arrived before noon. She spent the first hour reading. That was one of the reasons Evan disliked losing control of a problem to her. He could persuade people while they were still assembling their thoughts. Diane assembled hers in silence. She met with each of us separately. When my turn came, she had the red hold tag on her desk. Tell me what you need to stabilize Halcyon, she said. Authority or resources? Both. Marcus and 2 developers protected from convention work. Priya with direct plant access. Client visibility restored on all original defects. A fresh billing copy for reconciliation. No production patches without QA evidence attached. And authority? I approve release gates for remediation. You already approve QA gates. Evan treated them as advisory. Executive risk acceptance exists for a reason. Then require the executive accepting the risk to show the client what was accepted. Diane tapped the tag against her desk. You're asking to constrain my product vice president. I'm asking you to constrain anyone who can change a defect into an enhancement after approving it for launch. Including me? Including you. One corner of her mouth moved. What about your performance addendum? Withdraw it. Your bonus? Restore it based on the review completed last month. Stabilization work can be evaluated separately in writing, with measures agreed before I do it. You came prepared. I had a long week. She set the tag down. Anything else? Yes. Marcus and Priya cannot take retaliation for preserving records or answering Dana accurately. That's an HR matter. Then write it with HR. Diane studied me for a long time. You understand that leading the recovery puts you in front of every failure you warned about. I'm already there, and if your fixes fail, then the record will show that too. At 3, we sent Dana a plan with all 6 original safeguards restored. She accepted it with 2 additions: daily reconciliation led by Halcyon and written approval from her operations team before Kenosha returned to full volume. Evan remained vice president of product, but Diane removed release acceptance from his role pending a process review. His promotion was suspended. He retained responsibility for product design and client requirements because he knew Halcyon's operation better than almost anyone at Rivetline. That arrangement made the next 10 weeks uncomfortable and effective. Evan joined remediation meetings from the far end of the table. He challenged estimates, caught a flaw in our proposed holiday calendar fix, and designed a cleaner way to separate physical card events from billable wait events. He also had to submit every requested exception in writing. The first time he asked to skip a regression cycle, I sent the form back because the affected plants field was blank. He appeared at my desk 5 minutes later. You know it affects all 3. The form doesn't. You enjoy this. Less than you think. He looked at the red tag hanging from my monitor. I shouldn't have taken that. It was not the apology I wanted. It was the first accurate sentence he had offered about Monday. No, I said. You shouldn't have. He completed the form. Marisol did not call me for 9 days. We communicated through condo spreadsheets and comments in the shared repair estimate. She approved the plumber. I disputed the cabinet charge. It was a very efficient estrangement. Then she showed up at my apartment with the framed brass laundry token under one arm. Why do you have that? I told Evan I couldn't look at it in his office. She set it on my kitchen table. Which origin story did he give you? I asked. His grandfather used it. He bought it online. I know, I reconciled the credit card. I laughed and she did too, but hers broke in the middle. He says I chose you. I didn't ask you to. That doesn't mean he's wrong. I pulled out a chair. Marisol stayed standing. I kept wanting this to be a disagreement between two people I loved. Then I found the bonus request. I'm sorry. Don't be. I needed to find it. He's good at his job, Mari. He's good at making his need feel like the company's need. The sentence had probably cost her several nights of sleep. She sat down and traced the edge of the frame. I did that too, she said. With Mom's condo. I made the bonus sound like a reason you should be quiet. Yes. Her eyes lifted, surprised by the answer. You want me to pretend you didn't? No. I just expected a softer landing. I'm tired of softening things until we can't read the label. She reached across the table. Her hand stopped halfway, giving me room to refuse. I took it. We finished the condo settlement with the original bonus amounts restored. Marisol and Evan stayed together, though the polished stories disappeared from dinner for a while. He and I spoke at work and rarely outside it. The distance hurt less once we stopped calling it harmony. The remediation moved one defect at a time. Marcus rebuilt the retry logic around a single transaction identity instead of separate scanner acknowledgments. Priya ran double pass tests with plant crews moving actual carts, including one with a wheel that dragged so badly it became our most reliable test instrument. We fixed weight corrections at the event source, rebuilt holiday rollover against contract calendars, and compared every invoice line to Halcyon's rate sheets. The 14th defect closed on a Thursday afternoon. It was the 3-cent rounding issue Evan had used to make the list sound ridiculous. Across Halcyon's full monthly volume, the old calculation would have overbilled one category and underbilled another by more than $12,000 a year. Marcus sent me the result with one line. Tiny, adorable edge case. I printed it and taped it above his desk. Kenosha returned to full volume after Dana's team watched the final offline cycle. A handheld lost connection beside a steam press, held 6 scans, reconnected, and posted each transaction once. The RFID tunnel read a cart forward, backward, and forward again without duplicating its status. The corrected weight reached inventory and billing together. Dana stood beside me on the plant floor with safety glasses pushed up in her hair. The noise swallowed most conversation. She signed the acceptance page against the metal lid of a laundry cart. I clipped the battered red tag to the binder. Dana looked at it. Still on hold? I checked the signatures. Halcyon Operations, Implementation, Engineering, QA. Mine was last. I signed, unhooked the tag, and put it in my pocket. At Rivet Line, Diane changed my title to Director of Release Quality and moved the role outside product delivery. The written charter included the authority we had used during remediation, along with the protections Priya, Marcus, and I negotiated. The next Monday, I placed the red tag in my top desk drawer. It lay beside the old invoice sample with the 3-cent discrepancy and the photograph of the crossed-out whiteboard. I closed the drawer, opened the next release record, and began with the gates.